Boston, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
All right, look. I get the Karl-Anthony Towns idea. I do. And I get what you're saying, James, is this guy's been on teams that went to the conference finals 2 years in a row. He's been prominent piece on both of those teams. He was the second best player on both teams. I would say at least second best offensive player. I don't.
You're out.
I'm out. Because maybe not. You can't. I don't think you can have a Domas Towns front court, which means you're now probably just doing a Domas for Towns swap. And I don't know that makes you demonstrably better.
Okay, so he's 29 years old.
He is.
He gives you an elite score.
He sure does. He rebounds the hell out of the basketball.
He this year he figured out how to rebound.
Mm-hmm.
He can block some shots. His high for his career is like 1.7 his rookie season, but 1.6. He's right around. He's at 1.2 for his career. Although the last 2 years he's been playing further away from the basket.
Well, and he's not. He's 7 foot and he gets some blocks. Nobody's confusing Karl-Anthony Towns for a rim defender
or a great defender in general.
Yes.
But you're also looking at a guy who shot 41.6% from the field from three last season and 42% from three this year, and that's on 4.7 attempts per game. He
shoots the hell out of it.
40% 3-point shooter on 4.3 attempts for his career. So
calls himself the best shooting big man of all time.
Oh, okay. Well, he must not have watched Dirk Nowitzki play, but that's okay. He can call himself whatever he wants, sure. But Dirk was a knockdown shooter. I don't hate it. And I'm not a Cat guy. Just throughout his career, I'm not a huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of some of the other things. But I think he's also grown up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The problem might be that you're never going to be a great defensive team with him on it.
Yes.
But I hate to tell people this. The Indiana Pacers are going to the NBA Finals, and they're not a great defensive team.
Sure.
Crank it up.
Yeah.
Go play. But the problem is, you would still need to find you'd need to find a point guard to run this thing, and
right.
All of a sudden you're putting a bunch of assets, and all of a sudden you have $100 million a year tied up in your 4 and 5, and then Keegan Murray still got to get paid, and you still got to worry about what the Zach LaVine thing looks like, and you don't still have to worry about what Zach LaVine looks like with Cat, because that's going to be a problem. In the same way that Jalen Brunson is. But the Kings are a team that needs talent. They need to find, star-studded talent. And if there's a way to get Towns, I would at least talk, I would at least consider it, because I think we all understand the Knicks are in a position where, look, they're probably going to try to go big game hunting.
Mm-hmm.
They might try to go get Giannis, and that doesn't mean that Milwaukee wants Cat.
Sure.
There's a possibility that you could be the team that facilitates the trade using draft picks and players.
So you're proposing a version of the Kings that has Karl-Anthony Towns and Domantas Sabonis on it.
Yep.
Oof.
I think it can work. I mean, again, I don't think the Rudy Gobert Karl-Anthony Towns matchup is the greatest I've ever seen. And they made it to the Western Conference Finals.
No, I agree. But Rudy Gobert's whole thing is defense.
Yeah.
He affects the way teams play offense because they don't want to mess with Rudy Gobert in the paint.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you're looking at that with a Sabonis Towns front court. I don't think it works the same way. It worked because Towns could space the floor and he and Rudy didn't really get in each other's way, specifically offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I think defensively, you just have massive issues.
Well, of course, but I would rather have massive issues with a player who averages 25 and 10.
Here's what I kind of feel about this. I just jumped into the ESPN trade machine. Sabonis and Carter for Karl-Anthony Towns works straight across. and you know how they do the little analysis bit
Yep.
about how many you have not affected the winning percentage of this team. That's what it says for both.
Yeah.
Like, that's right.
No, I get it. But like, look, you're trying to build something, and
Creates a little bit. He can shoot it.
you could at least see if it works for a year and then move on from one of them if it doesn't. Like, I'm not overly concerned with the fit. I just, is there going to be a huge market for Cat, who makes a ton of money, an absolute ton of money,
49.2 this year.
49.2. But like, you can come up with a trade that works for that team where they collect a bunch of draft picks, and you give up DeMar DeRozan and Jonas Valanciunas. Maybe Valanciunas works as like a big center for them in certain situations. And of course, Devin Carter, and you probably are there financially.
So DeRozan, Valanciunas, and Carter.
Yeah.
According to the ESPN trade machine, that does not work.
But how far off is it?
Kings are over the luxury tax threshold, exceeds what's allowed via the 125% plus 100,000 rule. You need to cut 7.4 from the Knicks. Although I feel like their trade machine is behind.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess that's the problem, that their trade machine is just, it doesn't. They would have to do this deal after the new calendar year,
right?
After July 1st,
new league year.
The new league calendar year. Sorry.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he makes 53 million next year, 57, 61. Like, I think there are ways that you could figure out a trade here. I mean, if you've got to include, like, do a Malik Monk, DeMar DeRozan, add another player in. Like, I'm not saying that this is like the trade I would go do this season.
Yeah.
But I'm also
figuring out ways it works.
Like, look, if you have a front line, if somehow you're able to retain Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis, and you have a front line of Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis, and Karl-Anthony Towns, I don't think you're a bad team, and I think you can add other pieces very quickly. But like, look, the Kings have to be open to just about anything. And I know a lot of people are like, "Hey, why don't you call on OG Anunoby, or why don't you call on Mikal Bridges?" First of all, the Knicks aren't trading Mikal Bridges. He doesn't make anything.
Yeah, you can call on those guys for sure.
Yeah.
And if the Kings can pry away OG or Mikal Bridges, great.
Yep.
But I think you're right. I think Towns is the player that if they're going to make a significant move this offseason, that's it. Like, that's going to be the one.
Well, no, yeah. If you were going to make that move, it would be like one place. And I don't think that you can. I don't think they would take a Levine for Karl-Anthony Towns trade. I don't.
No, I don't either.
Yeah. So that would be a tough one. But like Valanciunas and Levine straight up, and then add draft pick.
And this a little bit puts us, it brings into focus where the Kings are a little bit, where you're either tearing it down to the extent that you can, or you take a big swing for a player like Karl-Anthony Towns, and maybe you go, don't love the fit, don't think this is really going to work, but you know what, they got to do something, because we know for a fact that this current group of players doesn't work.
Well,
and maybe there's some wings you can go get instead, and if those names start coming up in the trade market, then cool. But Giannis is probably off the table. I don't think we can talk about this. I don't know that what you'd have to give up to get Kevin Durant would be worth the year that you're